Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday, 3:50 a.m. I was walking around this morning with a little bit of a daze. I got up with this very overwhelming feeling that something not so positive was going to happen. And it could have something to do with business. It could have something to do with personal. It could have something to do with the fact that, yesterday we sat down with our tax guy when he came to the house to look at, look at some of our things. It could be an accumulation of a bunch of external things that I have no control over. But it still got me. I needed to find something to hear, to put my attention towards, to give me a confirmation, besides the one that God gives me on a regular about everything happens for a reason, trials and tribulations, reflection. In some way, somehow, I ended up at Steve Jobs' commencement speech or valedictorian speech, possibly at Stanford University in 2011. There was a one somewhere in there. And he went through three different phases of his life. He went first through a story of the phase of his development and how his company came about. The second phase of his life was love, and then the third phase of his life was the possibility of death, and how death is a very surreal fact. And I didn't know why I started listening to it. It was about a 30-40 minute speech. I turned it on and I went about doing my thing around the house. I have this super loud Bose system. And he started talking about how his business had developed from the first year at the age of 20 all the way to 30, being a $2 billion company. How his success and how his finances had grown substantially. But then he talked about how he had got fired from the company that he built, and how he thought that that was a very odd change of events. But he said initially he went into an apologetic stage. But then he realized being fired from the thing that he created did not necessarily rule him out as the creator. It just meant that it was his time for some reason or another to move on and do something different. And at that point he had created Pixar, and then he had created another company that ended up being number one in the world, and subsequently bought back by Apple, and as well as him going back to Apple. And what he really expounded on in this speech was connecting the dots has nothing to do with future success, because future success is not determined unless you know what the past looks like. And what he said was, in his life, he was able to look at a series of events and clearly see where it was leading him to based on his reflection. Had he not failed, he would not have reached where he needed to go. And had he not tried, he would not have reached where he had to go. And at that moment, I was back in my zone and saying, failure's not okay, but the outcome is. There's no such thing as failure when there's a try by it. But the outcome is.